Alright, Summerhill Cinema 700 here with my long-anticipated review of 1981's The Slayer. Before I start this review, I want to just note that I have a horrible allergy, so excuse my stuffiness while this goes on. So, this is my first time ever viewing The Slayer today, and I don't know if you can see it back there. It looks like on the camera it's a little hard to see, but I got the menu screen rolling there in the back. And what I think we'll do is we'll turn this off for a second so you'll be able to see me a little bit better. But this is my first time ever seeing this film, The Slayer. And I had heard a lot about this. And of course, I don't know a ton about this film, but all I know is that any previous releases before this new Arrow Blu-ray have been pretty bad quality. Like there was a DVD and a VHS. Now, again, I'm not going to go through a ton of the history behind this film because I'm not sure of it, but my first time seeing this film, we'll just go kind of through what it's about, and I gotta say, I can't believe that I've never heard anything about this film, and I thought it was fantastic. So, we start out with this couple. The woman's name is Kay, and she's with her husband. Now, her husband's either Eric or David. I can't remember 100%. I have the names written down here of the characters from the film, but it's either Eric or David. And basically, she's having these dreams. She's having these terrible dreams. Fix the camera there. She's having these terrible dreams about her being killed, her being murdered, being strangled by these big hands and claws, and she's just having these terrible dreams. And basically, we find out that her and her husband are planning to go to this island for a vacation, and she's telling him, like, I don't think this is a good idea. I just don't feel like going. I have a bad feeling about this. And he's just like, oh, you got to get over this, okay? You got to get over this stuff. It's nothing but your mind. It's just dreams. It's not real. So, she's just crazy going about these dreams. And then we basically get introduced to this other couple who's going along with them to this island. And her name is, Brooke. And again, her husband's either Eric or David, I can't remember, but they're going along together, so you have two couples going along on this trip together to this island in the middle of the Pacific, maybe? I can't remember. But they're going for this nice vacation getaway. So, anyways, and basically, the woman that plays Kay, at first it shows her, she has these really creepy eyes, like I can't do it, but really creepy eyes. Anyways, basically, we get introduced to, both sets of the families and the characters. They're getting ready for this flight. They end up taking this small plane to this island. And I believe the name of the island in real life is Tybee Island. I can't remember. I'm not 100% sure, honestly, of where this island is or what it's called. But, in real life, but they go to this island, they fly in this really small plane, and the cinematic view that we see is quite cool, actually, while they're going to this island. The cinematography of the airplane's pretty nice. And anyways, the pilot who's taking them is kind of a weird guy, kind of a creepy guy, doesn't say much, doesn't talk very much, and he, when he gets there, he drops them off, and he ends up coming back to the house and warning them, saying, there's a big storm coming. I used to live on this island. I know all about it. You've got to get out of here. There's a big storm coming. And they're like, oh, well, we'll just sit through it. Anyways, Kay starts having these hallucinations and dreams whenever she falls asleep. And one of them in particular, she's having this dream of this older man sitting on the beach, and he's gutting a fish. Just gutting the fish away. And then we just see like this shadow come up behind him, and you see his head get smacked with this bat. I think it's like a bat. It's just like this splatter of blood, and then it's like, and she wakes up, and we realize that was just a dream that she was having. Now, I hope that I'm going to try to do this in order as it went, but if I do mix it up, I'm still kind of telling you the main idea of the film. So she keeps having these dreams, Kay, and of course, like I said, that guy came and warned them that there's a storm, but they decide that they're going to stay anyways. So basically, one night when they're sleeping, and also the thing that I'll mention is that Kay, when she first arrives to the island, she recognizes it, like she's seen it in her dreams, an exact mirror image of this island. She recognizes it somehow, and she's like, I've seen this place before. And she sees the theater, which in real life is the Tybee Post Theater, it's called. And she sees this theater, and she says, I saw that in my dreams. And they're like, oh, you're just crazy. You didn't see it in your dreams. And she's like, I painted a picture, because she's an artist. And she's like, I painted a picture of that exact building. And they're like, no, you didn't. You painted a picture of a building that looked like it. So she's walking around. She recognizes this island. She's like, haven't I been here before? And they're like, no, you definitely have not. But she's seen this place in her dreams. And, so basically they all end up going to this house, and it's this really big, old, cool house. And it's quite a large place, and they're like, oh, it looks horrible from the outside. But when they get inside, they actually think it's quite a nice place. Anyways, some stuff happens. They just end up hanging out on the beach and stuff. When nightfall comes, Kay is sleeping with her husband in the bed, and he hears these noises. And he ends up going downstairs and just looking around, and he keeps hearing like doors closing and stuff and windows shutting, and it's really creepy. It's like this really dark atmosphere down in that basement. And he ends up going over to this, it's like there's like this old elevator shaft inside the house, and he ends up just looking at it, and he sees that it's kind of open, and then he closes it, I think. That's what happens, and then it opens up again in this really creepy scene. So it's just like this, it's on the roof, it's like this elevator shaft, and it just goes and just opens up. And he ends up climbing up on a ladder and looking around, and he's like, there's nothing up here. And then he's just kind of looking around, and all of a sudden, boom, it closes down on his head, and that's when we get our first kill in the film. And again, this is Kay's husband who was killed first. Anyways, it closes down on his head, and you get this really gross kind of like bloody scene. The blood's dripping down on the floor. His head, is stuck between his door, and he's like twitching and stuff, and it's quite a really realistic scene, actually, as far as a kill scene goes. And then right after that, we go to this sequence where all of a sudden it's Kay again, and she wakes up, and it was a dream. So it's like, oh, okay, it was just in her head. And anyway, she's laying in the bed. She looks over, and, there's her husband. So she starts kissing him, and then all of a sudden, we start to see blood coming out of his eyes and out of his mouth. And she's kissing him, and there's blood in her mouth, and she's like, oh my God. She removes the blankets, and it's just his fucking head. It's just his cut off head. And it's like, oh my God, that's so creepy. And again, that's the first kill. So, she's freaking out and stuff. She's screaming. She's yelling. She goes and gets the other couple who are, at this point, I believe they were outside on the beach, and she's screaming, he's dead, he's dead. Now, I can't remember 100% sure what happens with the head. I think it just vanishes or something. But basically, there's a lot of stuff going on. They're freaking out. She's telling the other couple, my husband, he's dead. Either, I think is it Eric or David? I think it's Eric. I don't know. God. He's dead. My husband's dead, right? And they're like, no, he's not. He probably just wandered off in the night. So then they end up all going and looking for him. Kay ends up going to the theater, and she finds his body hung up with the head removed. And she, she's freaking out. She goes and tells the other couple, and I guess they see the body. They don't show them seeing the body, but they realize, okay, he is dead. And the other guy, his wife, is saying like, they basically, what if what Kay is saying is true, and this is all her dream, and there is some sort of monster? And he's like, you're crazy. It's not a monster. It's just a person, some crazy killer. And it's like, well, that doesn't really make it much better, There's some murderer on the island. So anyways, they're all in the house and stuff. The other guy who's alive, the only guy who's alive now, ends up shooting off some flares to try to get some attention. Because at this point they've realized there is a killer on this island. Somebody killed him. And then he starts to question, like, okay, well, this creepy pilot who was here, maybe it was him. Because when he came to warn them, he left, but they never saw the plane leave. So they think that it's him, maybe. It's this creepy-ass pilot. And they're like, maybe. And it ends up that after he fires off these flares, this guy, he decides to go and get some more flares. He thinks that they'll be in the boathouse on this island. So he ends up going there, looking around for flares, doesn't see anything, keeps hearing these noises. The door closes then when he's in the boathouse looking for these flares. And, then he leaves, and you can see they have this kind of scene where it's like, it's from the perspective of whatever the Slayer is, and you hear it breathing, watching him from outside. He ends up leaving the boathouse, and then when he's leaving, you see this fishing rod, this big like gaff hook, go out, and it hooks him right in the deck. And that's our second kill is him. So the two guys die first. Gets him right by the neck, and it's pulling him, and it's pretty disgusting. So he's getting pulled by this big rod. Again, we don't see what's pulling the rod, but we just see the rod itself. And he gets pulled into the ocean. You just see him getting dragged off into the ocean, and it's really cool and creepy. By this point, the other lady, before that happened, I should mention too that they gave Kay this like sleeping drug in her tea that she was drinking. And Kay doesn't want to fall asleep. She's telling them, if I fall asleep, it's going to come and kill us. And of course, before he went to go to the boathouse, that's when they gave her the tea. They think she's bullshitting. This is all ridiculous. There is a murderer, but it's not this monster and it's not a dream. So at this point, when he's going to the boathouse, Kay is asleep because she's been knocked out on these sleeping drugs. So she's sleeping. And she's freaking out when they gave her the stuff because she's like, no, please, if I fall asleep, it's going to kill you guys. Well, she's asleep. And like I said, he gets killed by the fishing hook. And then his wife goes out to look for him. And she's looking in the boathouse too. She doesn't see anything there in the boathouse. And then basically she's in there. And then all of a sudden she does see something. She sees this shadow, and you see this pitchfork come out of the shadows, and then you see her scream. And again, we don't see the Slayer, but we see her screaming. And she runs, and she's running through the boathouse. And this is the only funny thing that I found in this movie, is that there's like 2 windows in the boathouse that are like just regular windows, and then she runs to the one that's boarded up, and she's trying to get out of it. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of silly. Why would she have run through those other windows? And she's trying to just like panicking and pulling at the window and stuff. And I gotta tell you, man, if I was in this little boathouse and this Slayer, whatever the hell it is coming at me with a pitchfork, I'm not just gonna be like, I'm gonna fucking jump through that thing like a torpedo. I'm just gonna torpedo myself through the window. So that part was kind of funny to me, that she went to the only window that was boarded up. But she's at the window, and then we get the infamous scene, the Arrow video, the first scene that I ever saw from this film, and this is where she dies. She gets a pitchfork right through her back, and it comes out of her breasts. And we just get this gross scene, and it's very cool. It's very well done. It looks very realistic. And then we just see her face and the blood coming out of her mouth. And it does look really real. All the kills in this film do look real. Anyways, Kay ends up waking up in the morning realizing none of them are there. So she's like, what the hell? So she ends up going, and I'm going to make this quick because I only think I have a 15-minute limit on YouTube or something. I don't know. But Kay ends up going, and she finds that both their dead bodies, She finds the other husband in the water, all rotten and stuff from being in the ocean. And then she finds the other lady too, dead on the beach with crabs all over her and stuff. So she finds him dead. So she's freaking out, I told you, I knew it was going to happen and kill us. So at this point, she basically goes back to the house and just boards the hell out of it. Gets ready for a fucking war with whatever the hell this Slayer thing is, So she goes back to the house, locks all the windows, closes the door, barricades the door up, and she's like getting ready. And she's making a whole bunch of coffee and smoking cigarettes to make sure that she stays awake, just in case. Well, obviously to keep this freaking Slayer, whatever the hell it is, out, right? So she's boarding up the window, going on full lockdown, and she's drinking coffee, smoking cigarettes to stay awake, and she's kind of falling asleep, and every time she's starting to daze off, she hears like the door. It's like the door is moving, or the door handle's turning. Anyways, that happens a few times, and then it gets to the point where she goes over into this one room, there's this fridge, and then a hand breaks through the window, and it's kind of reaching over. And she actually stabs the hand, and that's the first time we see anything of the Slayer, and we see that it is actually a human hand, and Kay stabs it. And then she runs off, and it ends up coming through there. And then it's weird, we get this sequence. We see that all of a sudden, then she runs up to the stairs, and then the pilot guy comes around the corner, and she shoots him with a flare. So we're like, oh my god, it was the pilot. She shoots the pilot with a flare, and basically lights him on fire, as well as the house. And then we get this sequence where she opens the door, and then we finally see the Slayer right at the end there, and it's this fucking creepy ass monster with these big teeth, all slimy. It's actually on the cover of the Slayer, you'll see it, or if you just look up the Slayer. So then we finally see the Slayer, that it's this crazy monster. And then right out of that, we see this young kid in a bed. And now one thing that I just realized that I missed. Okay, we're going to go to part 2 now.